Welcome to episode 20, season 2. First time, Rob, we've ever done this. We have a guest that's been here in season 2 already in Colton Point, but he was so good in his first episode, we invited him back for another visit in August, and all about equipment.
Well, you know, when we had Colton in last time, we discovered that he is an equipment junkie and has some incredible insights for our viewing audience and our young goaltenders and goaltenders alike about equipment and some of the ergonomic advantages that he tried to get. And I think you're going to be absolutely fascinated, though, by this first segment with Chris, because you watch and listen carefully when Chris starts to explore some of the concussion issues that Colton had, and he talks about equipment. I think you're going to be absolutely startled by what he says.
All right, welcome Colton Point for episode 20, your second time in the Icebox in a year. You're the first person. You were so good that we brought you back the same season. So welcome back. This one's going to be a little different. Not so much talking about the nostalgia of minor hockey and 107 saves here and 107 saves there in the NHL draft. We're going to talk a lot about equipment.
Cool.
So, but let's first talk about what Colton Point is doing now. You take us through a little bit of the decision for your retirement, a little about what you're doing now away from the game.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously my retirement was mid-season. Had sustained a concussion in December, worked real hard to try and come back, ended up coming back a little bit earlier than expected, went onto a road trip because they needed me to go. Ended up getting put in for the third period in Allen. Actually went fairly well, felt pretty good. Next week we're on a huge road trip in the south. We were in Greenville, Savannah, and then Atlanta, I believe, or somewhere in the south, but it was Atlanta, or Savannah. That was my last game. Got the start, and I couldn't see the puck anymore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, the first shot, I knew it. And it was like, oh, I'm in trouble today. And yeah, coach looked at me, you know, in between the first and second. I could tell he saw I was nervous and ended up letting in another 2 right after the second period started. And I had a little meltdown, blew the stick up, got off the ice, and just like had a panic attack basically in the tunnel. Got back on the bus that night, went to Atlanta, sat on the bench that game, and I don't think it could have gone to 10-0, I think, and I don't think he still would have put me in. Got back to Fort Wayne, had a day off, came into practice the next day, and I just went into his office and said, "Coach, I can't do it anymore." And yeah, like I didn't need, you know, my wife and my kid, you know, seeing me on the ice. You know, if I did, you know, get a concussion in a game, like that would have been number 11. So like I was starting to push the limits of, you know, what was safe for me. Like I had pushed them quite far already. So it was kind of just that decision of, you know, I got a lot of life left to live, and, you know, blowing it all for, you know, minor league hockey wasn't the right choice anymore, I don't think. So yeah, retired, went home 3 days later, and haven't looked back really.
Wow. How tough was that? How tough was that for you mentally? Obviously, like you said, you had a panic attack.
Yeah.
The anxiety, and obviously from the pressure from, you know, your teammates, from the organization, and obviously from yourself.
Yeah.
Like, how tough was that? Like, that just, you know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it was brutal. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I cried for about 3 days straight, like on the bus back. Like it was a 12-hour road trip. Like I had a lot of time to think about it, and yeah, it was rough. But, you know, I had a good support network, and just the initial relief of knowing that I didn't have to go through it anymore kind of gave me a nice brief bump. And, you know, I was lucky enough, like when I got back to New York, you know, with my wife and her in-laws, we stayed there for a bit. You know, she works for, you know, a developer. He has a landscaping company, so she got me working physical work right away. You know, hey, don't just sit around and be a sloth and dwell on it. Like, go out, do some work, and, you know, just being out and doing other things other than hockey really helped. But yeah, it was tough. I definitely wouldn't wish it on anyone, and it unfortunately comes for everyone. But yeah, it was my time, and I've kind of come to terms with that.
What is when someone asks you your career highlight? What is the career highlight?
Yeah, I think World Juniors was that. The draft was awesome, and getting to play pro was awesome, and I would do that all again. But it kind of takes that childhood wonder out of it a little bit, playing pro hockey for a little. So that the college years and World Juniors was really, to me, enjoyment wise, kind of the peak of my hockey experience.
That's when it becomes a job, right?
Exactly.
You play pro, it's your job.
And that's kind of the point.
Wow.
I would do it all over again. Every second, every mistake I made, all the bad times, the good times, I would do it all over in a second. But yeah, I definitely think World Juniors Colgate sophomore year was definitely the best.
Crazy. We'll just touch on a little bit. Obviously, one thing you've probably been asked for since you've been blue on the face, people ask about the World Junior case because you were a goalie partner, Carter Hart, and of course the case that everybody has been watching ended in July. Maybe tell me your reaction about how it influenced or the impact it had on you, even though you weren't involved in the incident. The fact that you were painted with the brush of these individuals that were not found guilty. But tell me, I guess, how hard that was on you when all this stuff was going around and you had to kind of just go your certain way. An amazing moment of your life that kind of, I don't want to say it tarnished it because I know how much you love the moment, but it certainly is, is a tough thing for you as a teammate. Yeah,
obviously very frustrating to deal with that. We weren't really privy to the settlement and all that, and and then having it come back up a few years later, obviously I wasn't involved with that, but having to explain to my wife why I have to hire a lawyer to do all this stuff was tough. And obviously for a long time there was no names named or anything like that, so having to A, keep my mouth shut, but also B, I didn't really know who all was involved for the most part until they did press the charges and all that. So at the end of the day, I'm happy those guys are walking away free. I knew that from what I did understand of the scenario that was likely the case. But yeah, it was definitely a difficult time, and just obviously in a small town like this, not many guys played World Juniors from here, right? Ben Gaudreau's the other one.
Yeah.
And there's only one scandal. So having to kind of just manage the expectations and what people thought based off the media and stuff like that was difficult.
You've been off social media for, I think even before that you were.
Yeah, I definitely got off Twitter right after that happened because I was just being attacked on there. I released that statement that we kind of all did when people started naming names, right? And yeah, I just didn't feel like getting attacked by a bunch of random people online, so got rid of Twitter. And the Instagram followed shortly after that. But yeah, it was kind of a wild ride, and shame that it all happened, but I'm happy that it's all settled now.
So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Team Canada, but I wanted to touch because you've played, obviously played with a very high-profile American goalie. What's going on with hockey? I go look at the world, the Olympic roster, and obviously Carey Price isn't around, and you go look at the guys like Samuel Montembeault, Aiden Hill, and Jordan Binnington. I mean, Jordan played really well at the Four Nations, but you go look at all the other nations like the Russians and the Finns and the Americans, aside from those three goalies, how many are even starters in the NHL? What do you think, going through playing pro and seeing and playing internationally, what is it you think that Canada has to do to kind of, maybe get goalie development more of a priority?
I think it's kind of a two-part answer. Part one, I think, is talent pools kind of ebb and flow. You know what I mean? Obviously Canada has this storied tradition of great hockey players, but also great goaltenders. Carey Price, you mentioned one, Corey Crawford, Marc-Andre Fleury. we produce good goalies. But I think for a little bit, those guys kind of clogged the system up, right? Like there's guys developing underneath them, stuff like that. So, and I think they also gave a good target for other nations to kind of go after, like if we develop these guys right, we can have that as well, right? So I don't think that we fell behind. I think that other places just kind of caught up to what we were doing. It's an interesting question. Honestly, like, I think that we'll kind of see, we're kind of seeing that period of Russian goalie dominance kind of come to an end right now, right? Like we had the Vasilevsky stuff like that, and we're kind of seeing the American goalie come to fruition.
Bobrovsky's not too bad.
Yeah, that's true.
No, not too bad.
That's true.
But he's older.
Exactly.
Like I think he's in his mid-30s now too. So,
but if you look at like Price, Crawford, Fleury, like they all came into the league around the same time, and they all kind of left the league around the same time. So like you'll get those spurts of like, hey, we just popped 4 goalies out who are all-stars, and then you'll kind of have a lull. So I don't think it's a training thing or anything like that. Like everyone is out there maximizing their training nowadays. Like that's just a given. That's how you get to the league now. I just think that, every nation will kind of have their turn at pumping out a few good goalies all at once.
When you were drafted, I know you never played in the OHL, but when you were drafted by Erie, there was a rule where the import draft excluded goalies from 2014 to 2018. Now in 2018, they turned it around, and now there's like UPL and Buffalo played close by here in Sudbury, and you're even seeing more European goalies actually going now to play Division I hockey in NCAA. Do you think that the CHL should have kept that in place? Do you think that that's impacted it at all?
I think it was an interesting experiment.
Now you have 3 imports, so you have an extra import.
Okay.
So technically, you could have 2 goals.
Yeah.
You have 2 goalies and a forward could both be from Finland or Sweden or whatnot.
And I mean, like I get why they did it. Like give Canadian players more opportunity. But on the flip side of that coin, I think it also kind of hampers the competition, which also in theory, to kind of make a reach here, if there's less competition, then your homegrown talent will have less to compete against and will develop less. If you wanted to kind of make that statement, in my opinion, I kind of agree with it. Like it's the Canadian Hockey League. Like they have leagues over there for them to develop in that are professional leagues. For like they have the MHL, the VHL. Like they have 14-year-olds playing in those leagues. Right? So at the end of the day, like they can develop their own players. So I understand why we did it, but I also don't see the harm in allowing them here either.
It is crazy with Europe. We the Voodoos, we played the Junglander, a U20 team from Germany, and they had a 15-year-old. And I mean, you think about it. How outlandish is it having a 15-year-old play junior A or major junior? Like that kid's playing is going into his first year of U16. He's not playing with 20-year-olds, but they had a kid. I think he's probably going to end up being drafted in a couple of years. But he was unbelievable. But they were fine with having a kid that's only an 09 playing with guys that are 04s.
Yeah, and so like my goalie partner for a long time in Texas was Landon Bowe, and he ended up going over and playing for Yager's team.
In the Czechia,
yeah.
Okay.
But what he was saying is they basically rotated like 3 or 4 young kids up and down all the time. So it's like, if you're doing well over there, like there is places to develop, so that kind of ties back to if you banned them, like it's kind of not the end of the world,
I think also the part in Canada, it's so competitive, right?
Yeah.
So, the coaches and the general managers, they want to win, maybe more so than they want to say, hey, you know what, if we take this 16-year-old goalie, we're doing the right thing development-wise. But winning is such a big thing now, and it's so competitive. I think that probably gets in the way of it a little bit. Do you think?
Yeah, for sure. And like, even for me when I first went pro, like my development period was, 7 games in the A, and then they decided, let's send this kid to the coast. You know what I mean? So like it's the same way in the O now. I feel like it's like we need to win now. What's our best chance at winning? No one wants to see their team lose, and at the end of the day, it is a business, right? Yeah, even in the OHL, like they got to sell tickets, and if you're not winning, you're probably selling less tickets.
Yeah.
So that 16-year-old goalie might not be getting those reps that once he comes back year 2, would have paid incredible dividends, but now he's not getting them because they want to win while he's 16.
But also in Europe, a lot of teams, you have a club system that's all the way from pro to junior to minor hockey. So you have an ebb and flow where everybody is the same, right? So, just like the Leafs and the Marlies probably maybe work a little bit better than maybe Nashville does with Milwaukee, because Milwaukee is a team, then you played in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, they want to win, even though they are the affiliate team to Nashville, right?
Well, and I'm sure when you talk to Kenny, he probably went into that because he was in Milwaukee for a bit. And that was definitely a team where it's like, we're not developing guys, we're winning.
Yeah.
And, HL teams have every right to do that.
Absolutely.
I completely understand, but, if the goal is to develop to the NHL, then, you got to pick your battles.
Let's move on to equipment.
Cool.
This whole show was mainly premised on equipment, and we're going to start the clock now. You've got some. You and I are going to talk helmets.
Cool.
Rob is going to talk about pads and gloves. So let's part of our goalie show and tell. Let's talk about your first mask in this one right here.
So this is my first painted helmet. It's my Colgate mask. Feel free.
Nice.
I always wore a size small medium, even though I technically should have wore a medium large.
Okay.
Because I really liked the super tight feel.
Okay.
Did that hurt me? Maybe. I don't know, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, super good. So that's the Colgate Raider.
Okay, the Colgate Raider. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the Chippewa Raider.
No, the Ravens now, I heard.
Yes.
But yeah, it's the Colgate Raider. And funnily enough, speaking of changing names to Ravens, I had like this whole other design that was not, in my mind, an issue at all. And the athletic director shot it down.
Can you say it?
So it was, I wanted like a realistic Raider, like a version of this mascot.
Okay.
Because like I was really, really into Robin Leonard's sketch mask when he was in Buffalo.
Okay.
So I wanted it to be like a sketch mask with like a lifelike Raider and then like all this other stuff off the sides and all that. And they kind of declined it. So then this is what we came up with. And yeah, I think it turned out awesome. So this is Silabrush, who did the paint. Sylvie Marilesh, she's out of somewhere in Quebec. But she did all of my helmets except for that one.
Okay.
Which is a Dave Art helmet.
Okay.
But yeah, she was awesome to work with. She did a bunch of pro guys. I believe she does Vasilevsky. Yes, she does. I don't know if she still does. But yeah, she was amazing.
Okay, let's talk mass because we're going to go there. But how much, when you got out of minor hockey, how much did the vision change from the cat eye to the crossbars over cross?
It was the best thing ever.
Really?
Yeah. So the hard part was I went into this, obviously. So I'll go back one step. When I was in junior hockey, obviously I wore the flat bar, but it was the CC, so it was kind of like you could get away with stuff. So there was a kid in Canada, Evan Moisey, who I ended up being friends with after the fact, who ended up going to Ohio State, all that. He showed up wearing a cheater cage, which is like a flat bar but wide holes.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen those.
I think so.
So I bought a cheater cage off him and put it on my helmets. So I got into kind of like a pre-cat eye, and then got to college and put this on, and it was even better. But then I put that on. That didn't come with the cat eye.
Okay.
I had to wear the straight bar because at Team Canada you have to.
Okay.
And for the Olympic guys, they've made exceptions.
Okay.
But for me, they wouldn't, and I begged them. I was like, look, I've been wearing a cat eye for 2 years now. I wore a cheater cage before that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see anything in this. And they hummed and hawed, and they made a few calls, and they were like, we can't do anything about that. So it took me about a week to feel comfortable in like the straight bar again. And it was amazing once I got back to Colgate and put the cat eye back on, how good I felt again.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are risks involved with the cat eye. Like, those are well documented, and there's a reason why, minor hockey doesn't allow them and stuff like that. I never had an issue. I saw guys get pucks wedged in there, but never, blew their face
If you look at the Goalie Resiliency logo, it's a puck in a cat eye hot goalie mask.
So I understand the risks. Like, you know, you can get sticks up through here, and that's really the main issue.
Yes,
Is like, it's not
100%
this hole.
it sticks. It's
not this
the
hole.
pucks.
It's this
No.
hole.
Yeah.
And I had a few close calls where, you know, they kind of brush up against you. You know, oh, but I never had a big issue with them. My only issue with these is I bent them like crazy. So like these would always end up super caved in.
Okay.
So I would go through a lot of cages. So Sylvie, when she would paint them, would always paint me a cage that matched. And I just told her to stop because they'd be done in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, don't even waste your time painting the cage. And I alternated between white and chrome. I wore the white for a long time.
Did you wear chrome with Team Canada? Did you put it? Was that a chrome mask on there when you played for Team Canada?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was chrome.
Bad, eh?
So I wore white in college. I wore white for 3 years in pro hockey, and then I switched back to chrome.
Yeah.
And then wore chrome until the end. Actually, it's a lie. My Bakersfield helmet was white again.
Okay.
There was a marginal difference. It really depended on kind of how you were feeling.
Where were the problem? Like you talked about your concussions. Where on using the mask as an example, where were you getting hit that was causing the issue for you?
The back plate.
The back plate.
Yeah, I never got concussed off of a puck. It was always guys running into you when you weren't looking.
Come on, real? Okay.
Swear to God, yeah. So like the really bad ones that I had, basically, so I'm wearing the helmet, right? And then the puck kind of comes across the crease, so you're looking this way, and then someone comes across this way.
Yeah.
But like when you're down, obviously, and tracking a puck really close to you, you're kind of looking at it, right? And you never see him coming, so you can't tense up or anything like that.
How much of the damage, the injury, do you think was not even hitting your mask, but like it was you're pushing your neck and getting into your?
It was like all whiplash, basically.
Yeah. Wow.
So and then the secondary issue is obviously this isn't attached to anything really, so the impact just kind of goes straight in, and you know if you get hit in the front, you get the spring right on the elastics the back way. So it loosens, like there's less impact, but when it's the other way, there's nowhere to go.
Wow.
Right? So then you just rattle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm gonna bring you. Not even in minor hockey.
No.
You never wore a cage and a helmet
Well,
cage.
I guess
minor
like
hockey you did?
baby, my first year goaltending maybe.
Yeah. Anyways, I want you to feel that and tell me what you. Now this is a reinforced. This is this is an old school helmet. This is this is a brand new mask with a reinforced
Chin sling.
Yeah, you like that chin sling, eh?
I thought about.
And there's Jack Lyons, my Jack Lyons. Our buddy Mark got Jack's logo on the back there.
I love it. I love it even more because the cat eye. The issue with these was these front bolts, right? They would hit your forehead.
But I think you have the same problem with a mask. Can you not? Would you not get a shot if you got it in the chest?
So these, like if you pull out the foam, and it might be hard to see on camera, but like the bolts are like just barely into the hard part of the foam at the front.
Yeah.
So it was never really a screw issue. Like if you go on the side, you can kind of feel them through the foam at just a touch.
Yeah.
Like on the bottom side.
Okay, gotcha.
Just barely feel them.
Yeah.
So that was never really an issue with these. But I love the chin sling. I tried one on a few times, but with the concussion stuff, I didn't want to risk it.
Yeah.
Going to one.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I throw it on?
Throw it on. You can take your hat off. You don't need to. I don't think you need to take it off. I think you can just go. You can just go put it right on. Look at that.
Well, it's a little small, but yeah, I get it. I understand why people wore these.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's light, like you got so much movement.
Yeah. I liked it too for the ringing when you get hit on the.
Oh, no
when you
ring.
get hit, there's no ring anywhere
Because it's not like.
I'll go another.
composite.
We're gonna go another layer. The last mask that I'll show you and talk about getting. Imagine this. Imagine wearing that as a professional goalie. It's light as a feather. You can actually take the chin thing off there. You could probably put that bad boy on too, and feel how light that is. And imagine that's what Arthur's Herbe wore. That's what Richard
scary.
Brodeur. Yeah, and look at how close it is. And you know what? You go look at some pictures online, and goalies, their nose is literally like millimeters from the edge of the helmet. And like you can imagine just how you get a shot right in the nose. It's
touching. So I'll put that on in a second. I'll show you how close my face is to him. I feel like I almost like, you know how guys like put clips on so they can have like hang?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I would want out of this.
Yeah.
Like a little, because if it's on my chin, I'm looking through like these up here.
Yeah.
But a little hang.
Yeah.
And for a straight bar, it's not too in the way.
No,
really.
No. I mean, it's breaking on the. This is literally everything's. Even the Swedish. This is a Swedish helmet from Sweden. The cage is from Sweden.
Ooh,
so
this has been way adjusted since the last time I put it on. But this one's actually not as bad. A lot of my pro helmets, my nose was literally touching them.
Since we're here, we'll put both on for the end credits. Or
this is the springs or the elastics are definitely shot on this.
Awesome. We're well protected.
There we go.
We will not get concussed. Rob can't take any shots in here that are going to hurt you either, and I. But a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah.
Now we'll get rid of the helmets and start talking some blockers and catchers, and we'll stop having our fun.
Well, you want to look at before you want to look at the Team Canada one at all?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Let's grab the Team Canada one quickly, and I'll leave my headgear on for now.
This one's missing a chin cup, obviously.
Okay.
I put it on a different helmet, blew one up, had this one around. So I think that's the chin cup from this helmet.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a Dave Art. It's a paint with a wrap as well. So base paint, then all the gold is like wrapped. But yeah, when I got this, I was secretly hoping I got the Moose one because we're from the north.
Okay.
Carter Hart took the other one because it was like a design competition for it's like a group of kids.
Okay.
And there was 2 designs that ended up winning. But it was cool because when we made the team and all that, they basically had all the helmets. So they had 2 pairs of helmets in each design, in each size, and in each model. Because there was also the NME masks back then.
Okay.
And not just these ones, which are I forget which these ones are now. But which one is this? This is the 960.
I didn't notice the moose on this. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? It does have some Northern Ontario flavor to
So
it.
I was super happy I ended up with this one.
No Raider, no Raider, but a couple of moose.
The black ended up going super
Very nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it worked out super awesome.
Awesome.
But yeah, this is a fun mask. I really like it.
Well, thank you, my friend. Up next now, no more helmets. It's all about blockers, catchers, the mental game, and all sorts of other fun stuff. Right after this with Dr. Rob.
Average Joe's Eatery and Patio Bar is North Bay's only year-round lakefront restaurant. On the shores of beautiful Trout Lake, we have been serving delicious food and stunning views since 1999. Indulge in one of our delicious menu items or simply sit with a cocktail in hand and watch the beauty of Trout Lake before your eyes. Check us out online at averagejoes.net or visit us in person at 3501 Trout Lake Road, North Bay.
Chris, that to me, I'm still kind of in shock when it was brought up in that segment about the helmets talking to Colton that his concussions did not come, as most of us would have suspected, from pucks hitting him straight on the head, but rather from the butt plate or the head plate at the back. And I just absolutely am still startled that that's where the majority of his concussions.
9 or 10 or 11, a lot of them in practice, a lot of them, people crashing the net. Like it's just crazy. And I mean, he's talks so candidly about how hard the decision was when he knew, in that hallway, when he said he was having an anxiety attack, he knew that, I'm near the end of my career. I can't keep doing this based on, the vision and the struggles with his, all sorts of things. So quite an amazing part. And, also, the talking a little bit about, the Team Canada stuff too, So it was a crazy situation for him to kind of see everything that court case, enveloped everybody around the world. And here's a guy from the North Bay area who knew about it, was on the team, but really was not ever really even brought up, even almost at any point in the court proceedings. I think he was with a couple of guys when a text message that was the only time his name was brought up. So, a lot of stress, the retirement, and then having the stress of that case, and being painted with the brush of these guys. It's pretty crazy. But you, as you always do, have an interesting way. You're not holding a golf club because
I'm any good as a golfer?
No, I was just going to say, you're used to having a longer season being a Leaf fan, right? But you're going to really get a real interesting perspective as Rob uses a golf club analogy to talk about goalie equipment with Colton in our next segment.
Colton, I know my dear friend Chris has already welcomed you back into the Icebox. Super excited. I'm getting to talk to you specifically about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's equipment. But I want to go back as I was sitting there listening to you talk about Chris and some of the concussion issues. And we were talking off camera just how both Chris and I were absolutely surprised and amazed at the fact that your concussions came from that back plate and not shots to the front. I think our viewers, when they watch that interview with Chris and yourself, I think a lot of people are going to be like, say what? I want to follow up on that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, goalie masks are meant to take impacts from the front, right? So the back plate design obviously facilitates that. Like, the elastics, the reason they blow off when you get hit with the puck in the face, it's because all that energy is transferring from the front of the mask into the straps, and the last place they are is the buckles. And that's how it kind of dissipates that energy. So it's a great design for pucks. And, kind of the risk you run is, there's a reason why goalies aren't meant to be part of the body contact.
Is that something, I wonder, as this is our equipment edition, is that something, you kind of being a bit of a equipment-aholic and junkie, I wonder if there's some room for some innovation there, if there's room for some discussion and maybe some pioneering on your behalf in terms of that?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how, you go about fixing that issue without completely rethinking kind of goalie helmets in general. I know kind of when Bauer was trying to do some stuff when I was still playing, it didn't really get, the reception wasn't warm. They kind of were focusing on like the moving cages and stuff like that. But, getting hit in the head by body parts is kind of just bad luck, I think, is the way it's looked at. And yeah, without really going to kind of like a whole deal, I don't think there's any real good solution for that, to be honest.
Well, my friend, I'm going to put that out to you as a challenge, and who knows, maybe we're going to see the Colton Point innovation in helmet technology. What I want to do though is I'm an equipment junkie, and even though I haven't been golfing a lot, I brought my golf club, and you're going to say, what the heck, Rob? What does this have to do with our goalie equipment? Well, I recently did have a lesson down in Barrie with golf, and a lot of guys, when we talk about golf, one of the most important aspects of being a golfer is the grip and your hand placement. And this is your connection to the club. And, instead of going out and spending like $3,000 on new clubs, sometimes just that connection to the club and a new set of grips can really change your game.
100%.
Well, I was thinking about our episode tonight and how that related to hockey. And I really happen to believe that one of the most important pieces of equipment for a goalie in the 21st century are the skates.
Okay.
Because they are your connection to the ice.
Yeah.
And I recently did a camp with Nate McDonald, OHL North Bay Battalion goalie, and we're talking about stance. And I want to follow up on that, but I want to show you some of the skates that I wore back in the day. And, the interesting thing about these, there's no ankle flexion. And when we're teaching young goalies how to stand, it's all about nose over toes. And in order to do that, we bend knees. But today, obviously, ankle flexion is super important. Mm-hmm. Now, goalies in the 21st century live on their inside edges. Tell me, in your opinion, skates. Talk a little bit about skates for me.
For sure. So I wore a lot of Bauer skates. I did kind of wear, obviously, the big plastic ones for a while. Wore the Reebok pumps, which was like very interesting, kind of going to the ankle stuff, like finding a good pump amount. But the nicest thing, honestly, is when they started cutting out the cowlings here, and you can get that attack angle back, right? So obviously with the big plastic cowlings, you had to pick your foot up about that far to get an edge. once they kind of went away from that, they started cutting them out, you could get an edge there. When they went to the cowlingless, you almost didn't have to pick your skates up off the ice. You could just kind of push around. I really, really enjoyed the Bauer Connect skates, like the ski boot style ones.
Correct. Vasilevsky, I think, made those famous for the ankle flexion, correct?
Yeah, and it was really weird to get used to, and it took some time, and like they definitely account for that. Like they have, a stopper in the back. You can adjust how far it'll let you go. After a while, they break, and you just have to commit to the full 22 degrees. But yeah, like skates-wise, I wasn't super picky. My one thing with skates was I had really sensitive like soles.
Okay.
So I could feel the rivets through the stock insoles. So starting in Bantam, I started using these Dr. Scholl's gel inserts.
Interesting.
Just to get the balls of my feet right off the rivets, because like it was unbearable.
Did you ever see the old Lang? Because in the 70s, I played with the old Lang skates for goalies where they had the actual foam inserts that came in and out. I don't know
no.
They were one of the first molded skates back in the 70s, early 80s.
Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. But yeah, like, so that was like my one thing with skates. Growing up, I did like the step steels.
Okay.
But at my size and body weight, I would just destroy skates because there was so much more leverage on the rivets with the long blades. I didn't really need the extra height, to be honest. So I kind of got away from that. And then I know the Bauers, a lot of them in college and stuff, like the carbon fiber footbed would kind of split if you took too many pucks off of it.
Okay.
And then one thing that I'm actually proud, I'm not going to claim it, but I definitely pushed for it. When Bauer came out with the first 1S skate, the first cowlingless. You remember the big toe caps on them?
Yes, I do.
And they had the huge ridges on them.
Yes.
So for me, those ridges would dig into the ice.
Yes.
It would mess my slides up. So I had my equipment manager, my first year at Colgate, shave the toe caps down.
See, the theory behind that was that probably they thought they were going to get more grip from it, right? But you didn't.
I think it was more just like structural for impacts.
Okay.
But like it messed my sliding up so much that I was like, I'm gonna risk it. Like so for like 3 years I was shaving down toe caps.
Isn't that amazing?
And then they finally came out with a freaking smooth one on the ultrasonic skates.
Okay.
So I didn't have to shave that one down anymore.
Do you remember, and I forget the NHL goalie, I should have did my research. Remember there was a game in the NHL and they started to wear the little toe picks. They were putting them
cheater blades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the NHL banned them because somebody picked up.
That was a graph skate thing,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was to kind of facilitate that. Last skate question. In terms of sharpening, a lot of goalies today are very specific about their blade structure and their sharpening. What particular instructions did you have?
Yeah, so I was at ½ inch for a long time in like minor hockey. And then I got to Colgate and my goalie partner was at $1/4. And he was a smaller guy, all that, but I tried it and loved it.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Interesting.
But they didn't stay sharp that long. Like, because you had so much hollow that the edges became kind of frail. So like you'd have to get like 3 blades per game basically, like swap them out all the time because the post would just ruin them. But then I eventually settled on 3/8. I liked the bite. Personally, I had a very kind of like if you look at my ankles, like that's as far that way as I could put my ankle, but I can pull it in like that really far. So like I was able to be pretty wide and have my ankle out, so I wasn't like on the inside edge a lot. So I could use the hollow. So if I went to a sharper hollow, like a bigger hollow, I still had a lot of bite, even like this.
Gotcha.
And yeah, at the end of the day, like it came down to ice surface. Like if you were on something super soft and you just felt like you were stuck in the mud on 3/8, like in pro hockey, like they'll sharpen you a set at ½ if you need to change. Like
you have that at your disposal, whereas your average goalie wouldn't. Well, and goalies today live on their inside edges, and I mean, I would say that goalies today are pretty particular about and need to probably experiment with that, right?
But so growing up, one thing for me that helped me, I forget, it might have been Dan Spence, but I'm not sure. But it was at Elite Hockey in Sudbury. Right? Was that what it was called, Chris? Do you remember? the training thing in Sudbury. What was that called?
I can't remember.
Was it Elite? No, that was Elite Hockey was in North Bay, right?
Yes, yeah, it's the old place in North
Okay,
Bay.
well there was this. They had like the like 3-on-3 ice out in Sudbury.
okay.
They ran goalie camps out of there, and they had like a skating treadmill and stuff like that. But so I used to be like this.
RHP.
Yes, that's the one. RHP.
Okay.
So I used to be super like this, but then my ankle would come up like that.
Gotcha.
Like kind of a bender, a
Totally
little bit.
pronated.
But, yeah. But then he was like, dude, just go like that. And then all of a sudden, it's like you have so much more edge.
Yeah.
So like you're still on the inside edge, but you have so much more control. Like you're close to slipping. Like obviously, I'm exaggerating how
Yes.
far it was, but you're getting close to slipping when it's like that. But if you can get it straight up, you have just so much more to work with.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
Well,
my skate talk.
I would argue that, this being our connection to the ice, this arguably is the most important piece of equipment for goaltenders. And you know what? I think if you're a young goalie starting out, you need to pay attention to what Colton and I are talking about there in terms of.
Actually, I do have one thing. It's funny because, obviously like the pro level skates are incredibly stiff, right? Like full carbon fiber bodies, carbon fiber plates. They're plastic now, obviously,
Yes.
with the Connects. It doesn't always benefit younger kids to be in that pro style skate that's incredibly stiff. Like let them use their ankles and figure it out with a softer skate. Like,
Yes.
I grew up not wearing the top model. Like I wore 2-3 models down, and they were softer, and it was good for developing. Like it gave you ankle strength, right? And then once you go into the pro style skate, then you can, use that carbon fiber and the stiffness to your advantage, right? Get more pop, stuff like that, because your ankles are strong enough to manage that style of boot.
Kind of like a weightlifter not using a belt to kind of establish and strengthen up the lower back muscles. Yeah, that's really cool. Let's get into, I brought a couple of catching gloves here.
Yep.
And pick one out there for us. And,
Yeah, we'll start with my last pro glove.
Tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so this is just I think it's a game ready. It's definitely not a practice palm, but it's a 600 break, pretty stock deal. I really preferred the skate laces on the side, webbing down the middle. I know Jake Ottinger was the opposite. He did webbing down the sides, skate laces in the middle. One thing I like to do a lot with my gloves, and this one's not like that because I wore it a ton and I had to fix it a few times, but I would extend my pockets out. This one might be a better example of that. Yeah, so these are still newer gloves, so I didn't really get to mess with them that much.
So that was a personal modification.
Yeah, so what you could do is you could untie these, right? And this one's broken, so that's...
Okay.
So it was loose and it's been fixed. But you could pop these out and get way more give out of the pocket.
Interesting.
And it technically wasn't super legal, but no one would ever call you for it.
Well, no one would ever notice.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing to get like way more kind of cushion in the pocket.
I see that. Yeah. Interesting.
Now you do start breaking things, and it happens.
Yeah. But you had equipment to manage yours too.
Well, so in midget AAA, I learned how to lace gloves.
Cool.
Because I was destroying gloves. So I had all my gloves. I would destroy the plastic through the middle. Or like down through the sides, so I would need to take them apart. So I would put, an extra foam in, I'd relace them, stuff like that. So I got kind of good at messing with stuff like that. But yeah, it was really just a preference thing. And I took a lot of like my glove break-in stuff from Kenny. So we were skating pro hockey in Oshawa. I was 17, 18, and I put on one of his gloves and it just like flopped.
I loved Kenny's gloves.
Yeah,
when he was in here, we talked a lot about that.
So I stole a few of his tips. I didn't do like the water or anything like that. But I would tape them up like this. Put
Kenny
the ball
talked
in,
about that as we did back in the day.
In the oven, just like playing with them a bunch. But
that's really cool.
Yeah, so like he definitely helped me out a lot with that.
One point for viewers out there, Colton talked about the practice palm, and if you're an amateur goalie, you're not probably going to know what that is, but when you're playing pro and you're practicing, you made a point about the practice palm is a special glove that comes from the manufacturer so that you don't get your hand hurt in practice. But you made a really interesting point off camera about how you said, no, I was struggling at one point. Practice palm gloves make it a little bit more difficult to catch the puck, and you said, no way, man, I need to make sure I'm catching pucks in practice. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so obviously, like when I first went pro, I struggled there for a little bit, and I was wearing a practice palm in practice, but then I kind of realized that one of the coaches was like, you never catch anything in practice, like something along those lines. So then I was just like, okay, I'm never wearing a practice palm again. Like I'm going to catch every puck in practice. So I went to pro palms in practice and then game palms for games. But the difference is, so like if you had a practice palm, it's like a 1/2 inch, and then like a game or a pro palm is like 3/4 for practice, and then it's like 1/2 for whatever, and then the game ready is like an 1/8. Like it's tight, like there's no padding there, but it out of the box it's snappy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just went to a pro palm and decided I wanted to catch more pucks in practice, just to, if you look good in practice,
Stay on the radar. Yeah.
Yeah, the coaches are seeing you every day, right? It's like, if you're catching pucks in practice, like they're gonna have less doubts about
Young
that.
goalies out there, listen to that, because I know I talk a lot about it. Goalies learning how to catch pucks, critical, and in practices and in games. What other glove you had there for us?
Yeah,
Colt?
so this is my Team Canada glove. This is like stock 2S glove. So the weird thing with these is, so once they went to the ultrasonic and mock, they got rid of it. They had this wrist strap, and this is how I wore it. So I wore it no wrist strap, super loose. And the reason I wore them super loose is the goalie coach in Erie, the one year I went to camp there, I used to slam them on my hand. He goes, well, if you wear them super loose, you can slide them off a little bit. You can get a little 1 inch extra reach.
Interesting.
And I really just like the feel of them loose on there.
Okay.
But yeah, so obviously you don't see these anymore. Like on these gloves, it's just, they don't put them on there anymore. You have to request that strap to be there. So I was happy with that change. A lot of people weren't. But yeah, super loose gloves, pretty stock. Obviously this one, I didn't get to pick. This was made before I even made the team. Because that's what they do. Like they go like, hey, like who do you think is going to make it? Give us a short list. And so they like Mikey DiPietro had a set made but never wore them. So this was made really to my previous specs, but some things got changed. But yeah,
Very cool.
super loose gloves. And I'm wishing I had brought a blocker now, because I did.
Well, we do have a blocker here in the icebox, and is this the blocker that you might be might be referring to?
So obviously on the new ones, like you have this big long finger guard.
Yes.
Because like Kenny, like I broke my finger a lot with pucks coming up my stick.
No doubt. Yeah.
So if you have a stick too, I did a few different changes.
And I mean, take a look at this. Back when this was the glove I wore, there was nothing.
Yeah. So I actually wore a TPS glove once that I borrowed off my dad's buddy Steve. Didn't have the front finger guards like the flat ones, but it had like a player style glove on top.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it was cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, I basically just had them beef up my finger, like extra padding in there. And then I switched to, instead of this, I switched to that. And I got that from Cormier.
Isn't that interesting? Wow.
And he eventually got off of it because he saw Bob doing it and he started it. And then I saw it from Cormier. But I found that you could get so much more control just palming the paddle.
And now Kenny actually, on his sticks, he cuts them.
Yeah.
He chops them. You didn't actually mod that in any way?
I always left mine standard.
All right.
But yeah, so I was like this. Well, I started like this, but then I was like so floppy.
Yeah.
So then I went to that. And then, yeah, once I went to this, like I couldn't go back.
So again, Young Goalies Equipment Edition, you're listening to Colton, professional goaltender, just don't take for granted, there's any one particular way. Experiment in practice, find what feels comfortable, find what gives you an ergonomic advantage. Now, I'm really excited about the pads that you brought. So let's get into those. So
I was a stiff pad fan, and these ones were made soft because I didn't have a break-in period. So obviously, these ones you can flex nicely. They're broken in. But then these are the pads for my last season. This is a fresh set, and like you can basically get on those, and they will probably never bend. Yeah.
Wow.
And I won't ever wear them, so you can bend them as much as you want.
Yeah, I don't want to break.
But yeah, so this is like a standard 2S. I was a no knee wrap guy down to here, and I really just liked it super tight here. So I didn't do anything down below, and I did nothing up top.
Okay.
Growing up, obviously, it was more leather strapping. I wore them a little tighter. I did go through a phase where it was like the ultra loose pad, like old Mike Smith loose.
Yes. Total rotation.
Yeah, and so that fell out of favor. And once I started trying like the tighter pads, the switch that kind of made it click is I wore the P4 Reeboks. I had the all blue ones. They're Crawford brakes, so no brakes, and I wore them super loose. And then I went to the Warrior, the Rituals, when they first came out with them. And they were more of like they were basically the precursor to these. Like
yes.
Ultra light, tight up like in the high calf area, not much anywhere else. And so that's really what made my change there. And I'll go back to these for a second. And then I adopted like these super long toe ties. So you got a lot of like knee and ankle like relief, because a problem I had with really tight pads with a short thing is when I went down, my skate wouldn't touch the ice, but then it would just torque my foot like that and make my knees hurt.
Interesting.
So I ended up going to a super long toe tie so I could get the pad off my foot and get my foot on the ice, because it didn't really matter if I was sealing the ice here, right? Because my skate was there.
Yeah.
So like if it went under, it would just hurt and hit my skate, but it would just be there. So yeah, it mattered less, and like you still get a good seal. Like they still sit really nice and flat.
Nice.
But like the only issue you have is down. Obviously you can't see that, but on these, when they switched to this cradle, like this was amazing. This was exactly what I wanted. For a little bit, I never wore these, not one time, so they're not actually set up the way I wore them. But I would take these and I'd have these sewn down, these internal flaps. I'd sew these down because these would like to pop off all the time.
Okay.
And then I would run this. This would be basically up to here. And this one would be up to here. And then that one I just put to there. And basically it was just, this was the only strap holding the pad on. This, you could take these off. Because when they switched to the one-piece knee block, the knee block stopped falling away.
Yes.
But on these, this is pre-one piece.
You had
the knee block would fall away.
Yeah, exactly.
So once they switched to the one piece,
you didn't need
you could get rid of this.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Wow.
For me, really, it was like I liked a really straight pad, and I liked a really stiff pad. I found the pop was really good. Obviously, this boot is kind of soft.
Well, I think the moral to the story, goalies that are out here watching this, a couple of things. First of all, I always like to say you need to be a scholar of the game. I think you need to be a scholar of your equipment. And I think as Colton has demonstrated in this episode, playing at the level that he did, he wasn't afraid to experiment, and he wasn't afraid to kind of find what worked for him and define what worked for him. So, you go into the sports store, I love those pads. Ask questions about the stiffness. Look at the setup. Consider, like what is this pad going to do for my rebound control? And be a scholar of your equipment. So, man, like I said, you are back as the kind of equipment junkie, and some really interesting insights. So to wrap this segment up, you're not done yet, my friend.
But also, I do not recommend this stiffness for anyone. Like this is like
for you.
Not like an entry level setup.
No.
Like this is wide butterfly.
It suits your style.
It's hard on body parts to play with gear like this.
No doubt.
Like, don't change your style just because I wear stiff pads. Like, if you're wearing soft pads and your body feels good, just keep wearing them.
And it's working for you, and you're stopping pucks and controlling rebounds.
Exactly.
All right, let's finish off with a game of 5 questions. That was absolutely fascinating. So it's 5 questions tonight, and no right or wrong answers, but this one, stranded on an island, you get to take one piece of goalie equipment. I've asked this question before, but we're going to take away the stick, because that one almost seems like it's the it's almost like, hey.
No, I was going to say that.
Yeah, well, we're taking that away from it. Can't be your stick.
Okay. I'm going to go with a skate, because you get combo, skate with a quick release blade, because you get combo knife and hammer.
Oh, Oh, interesting.
And it comes with laces. You need to tie some up, set some traps.
Wow, look at that. This guy is Survivor goalie. We're going to start a podcast called Survivor
Surviving
goalie.
with goalie equipment.
Number 2. This one I think is going to be really good for you.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe you do have a name for your catching glove, but if you didn't, if you could give a name to your catching glove, what would it be?
Ooh, I didn't. Not a big naming thing, guy.
Well, and this for the podcast, what would you name your catching glove? Think about your style. Think about the way you catch. What would you name your catching glove?
Before the concussions, it was Old Faithful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Before the pre-concussion.
After the concussions,
we can't use it on air.
Yeah.
We can't use it on air. All right, good.
POS.
All right. What area do you think would have been the most difficult to play goal in? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s?
Man, it's got to be...
Or current?
See, it's easy current, but it's just so marginal now. I think it's got to be like kind of like the Gretzky era where like...
80s.
Yeah, where like guys could shoot the puck well, but the gear was still like... this stuff.
And the technique. The gear and the technique hadn't evolved.
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. You know, guys I think could go to the 50s or the 60s where you're playing with no masks. That obviously would have been tough.
Yeah.
But you know, I think there's
straight
an argument.
blades though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're right. So I think I would agree with that. I think that's a good answer. Name the goalie that you feel has or had the best style or look in terms of equipment.
I love Corey Crawford. Like I based a lot of my gear off of how he played and looked. Another one that I really liked as I grew up because it was like subtle, but I really loved the way he played was Freddie Anderson.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But he always had like clean gear, like it wasn't overstated. It was just, it looked good with the jerseys and all that. So
well, you're not going to like my pick. My dear friend Chris, John Van Beesbrook, for me, back when he played with the Florida Panthers, his masks and his equipment, he was really out there.
Who was it? Was it Freddie that wore like the big cougar pads, or was that Snow?
Oh, I think that was Snow. I think that was Gar Snow. You're talking about Gar Snow.
Yeah, I liked his stuff too.
Yeah,
like,
he was pretty cool.
I like Gar Snow because I took a lot of the way he cheated his gear, and I started incorporating that into my gear. Like huge shoulder floaters, like big pants.
He kind of
changed
the rules, right? Because of that. Final question before we wrap this segment up. If you were to have a mask designed in the style of a rock band, not a country band, I know you're a country guy, what band would it be?
So my heavy metal band was Judas Priest.
Ooh,
yeah, so I'm thinking the Jugulator album. That just right on it.
You are a rock star. Chris and I thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely fascinating episode.
Average Joe's Eatery and Patio Bar is North Bay's only year-round lakefront restaurant. On the shores of beautiful Trout Lake, we have been serving delicious food and stunning views since 1999. Indulge in one of our delicious menu items or simply sit with a cocktail in hand and watch the beauty of Trout Lake before your eyes. Check us out online at averagejoes.net or visit us in person at 3501 Trout Lake Road, North Bay.
Neat, buddy. I really, like I said, we're teasing you before, but what an insightful. I know you even talked. You were really inspired by that golf lesson. I never thought when you told me how much you took from that golf lesson that you'd bring it into the Goalie Resiliency podcast. But what a neat connection you made using the golf club as an analogy for goalie equipment.
Well, yeah, you know, I just came off the ice the last couple of weeks working with Nate McDonald, the North Bay Battalion goalie coach. He's such a great guy. He's been on our podcast. And, you know, spending a lot of time working with kids on their stance and their mechanics. And, you know, it just really occurred to me that, you know, the connection that goalies have to the ice is through their skates. And just like as a golfer, the connection you have to your golf swing is through the grip. And so I would argue that, you know, the skates are arguably an understated part of the goalie equipment. And I just really enjoyed listening to Colton's insights about equipment and just how immersed he is. He's really a scholar of the equipment game.
But he doesn't like his last pair of pads.
But no, he doesn't.
And he does not recommend anybody to try to buy them in an auction or anything from him when that time would come.
And again, the other thing that in your interview with Colton, we look at a poster child in terms of equipment in a professional career and all of that. But if we also look at Colton as a poster child for resiliency in terms of what he went through. And, I'm a big advocate for mental health. And when Colton said he cried for 3 days, man, oh man, that's wearing that human emotion. And, I've thought about writing another book called Big Boys Do Cry. And I thought that was a very honest and upfront confession by Colton. And I can only imagine, what that decision was for him and all the courage that took for him.
Yeah, an amazing insight. And I wanted to throw back because I didn't realize the connection, but it's funny how things happen. Brought out the goalie combo helmets to show Colton, and the blue one that I showed is an Andy Moog retro. Well, I didn't even know the combo until I was in between segments, realized Andy Moog's the most famous goalie to wear the Billings Bighorn WHL jersey, and I didn't even know about it, but ended up using the old Andy Moog helmet to have reference, and probably a classic photo. I think it's the first time the host and a guest have both worn helmets during any portion of the program. But anyways, that was just another fun episode with you, Rob, and of course we enjoy having Colton Point whenever he has a chance to come visit us. And we also have to thank our one and only producer, Michael Brown.
It's his
one
birthday.
and only.
It's his birthday
he's
today.
the birthday boy, Michael Brown. He does such a fantastic job. And we got to thank you, the fans watching. And we look forward to episode 21 coming up very soon. Your favorite podcast called Goalie Resiliency.
Hey, Tom.